In just 11 days, 4 human beings will strap themselves into a capsule, perched atop the most powerful rocket ever launched, ignite 8.8 million pounds of thrust, and hurl themselves toward the moon. This is not science fiction. On April 1st, 2026, NASA's Artemis II mission will send astronauts farther from Earth than any human has traveled, shattering a record untouched since December of 1972. The spacecraft they ride, Orion, carries a heat shield that cracked and shed chunks of material during its only prior flight. NASA did not replace it. They chose instead to fly a steeper, hotter, faster reentry, betting the shield will hold for a shorter burst of punishment. 4 astronauts will stake their lives on that calculation. Among them is Christina Koch, who will become the first woman to leave low Earth orbit, and Hansen, the first non-American ever to fly toward the moon. Their destination lies roughly 370,000 kilometers away, a 10-day loop swinging behind the lunar far side, beyond radio contact, deeper into the void than any crew in history. And if anything fails past that point, there is no rescue, no abort, no second chance. This is Artemis II, and the countdown has already begun. The story begins not with a launch, but with a crawl. On the evening of March 20th, a machine the size of a baseball diamond began carrying the entire Artemis, 2 stack from the Vehicle Assembly Building to Launch Complex 39B at Kennedy Space Center. That crawler, moving at less than 2 kilometers per hour, needed roughly 8 hours to cover the 6-kilometer path to the pad. Perched on its back stood the Space Launch System, NASA's colossal moon rocket, stretching 98 meters into the Florida sky, taller than the Statue of Liberty. Fully fueled, this machine weighs approximately 2.6 million kilograms. Its power comes from 4 RS-25 engines, fed by supercooled liquid hydrogen and oxygen, flanked by twin solid rocket boosters, each measuring 54 meters long. Together, they produce 39 million newtons of force at liftoff, roughly 15% more thrust than the legendary Saturn, 5 that carried Apollo astronauts half a century ago. Sitting atop the rocket is the Orion spacecraft, built jointly by Lockheed Martin and the European Space Agency, designed to keep 4 people alive in the deepest vacuum for over a week. Beneath Orion hides the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, the engine that will fire a single decisive burn to hurl the capsule out of Earth, orbit, and onto a path toward the moon. Every element of this tower of fire and metal has been checked, rechecked, and debated for years, and now it finally stands on the pad, waiting. Who are the 4 people willing to ride this towering inferno to the moon? Leading the crew is Commander Reid Wiseman, a Navy test pilot, who spent 165 days aboard the International Space Station in 2014 and later served as chief of NASA's astronaut office. Beside him sits pilot Victor Glover, a Navy fighter pilot and the first African-American to live on the station during a long-duration mission, logging 167 days in orbit during 2020 to 2021. Mission specialist Christina Koch shattered the record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman, spending 328 consecutive days orbiting Earth and conducting 6 spacewalks, including the first all-female spacewalk in history. Rounding out the quartet is Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency, a former CF-18 fighter pilot and the first Canadian ever selected for a lunar mission. Hansen will also become the first non-American to travel beyond low Earth orbit, a milestone that transforms Artemis from a national project into a genuinely international endeavor. Between them, these 4 astronauts carry a combined 160 days of orbital experience and 12 spacewalks. Yet nothing in their training fully prepares them for what lies ahead, because no human alive has traveled this far from home. Here is where the story takes its most unsettling turn. When Orion returned from the uncrewed Artemis I mission in December 2022, engineers discovered something alarming. Large brick-sized chunks of the AvCoat heat shield had cracked loose and torn away during re-entry. The protective surface was pockmarked with charred holes, exposing layers that should never see open air. AvCoat is the same ablative material that shielded every Apollo capsule, but the Orion version uses a different structure. Roughly 200 large tiles instead of the Apollo design's 360,000 tiny honeycomb cells. NASA's Inspector General investigated and concluded in 2024 that astronauts on board would probably have survived, but the word probably carries an uncomfortable weight when lives hang in the balance. By the time that report surfaced, replacing the Artemis II heat shield would have pushed the mission years further behind schedule. So NASA chose a different path. Engineers redesigned the reentry trajectory, commanding Orion to plunge into the atmosphere at a steeper angle, enduring higher peak heating but for significantly less total time. The theory holds that shorter exposure means less opportunity for Koch to fracture and shed. Critics, including former astronaut Charles Camarda, argue that an uncrewed test of the new trajectory should have come first, but NASA insists the data supports the decision to fly with crew. Imagine floating inside a capsule no larger than a small van, staring through a triangular window as the moon swells to fill your entire field of vision. That is what the Artemis II crew will experience around day 6 of their mission, when Orion reaches its closest lunar approach. According to NASA's nominal trajectory, the spacecraft will pass approximately 6,500 kilometers above the far side of the moon, the hemisphere permanently turned away from Earth. At that moment, the crew will lose all direct radio contact with mission control, relying entirely on onboard systems and their own training. No human has seen the far side with their own eyes from this vantage since the Apollo era, and even those astronauts orbited much closer to the surface. Artemis II does not enter lunar orbit at all, instead following a free return trajectory, a figure-8 path that uses the moon's gravity to slingshot the capsule back toward Earth without requiring a major engine burn. Should the service module engine fail at any point after trans-lunar injection, this trajectory guarantees the crew will still coast home. It is an elegant safety net, yet one that offers no option to slow down, stop, or linger. The moon will appear the size of a basketball held at arm's length as they whip around it, and then it will begin to shrink, replaced by the long, silent coast back toward a distant blue marble, hidden beneath the Orion spacecraft, tucked inside the stage. Adapter that connects the capsule to its upper rocket stage. Rides a passenger most viewers have never heard of. Its name is K-RadCube, a 6-unit CubeSat, roughly the size of a loaf of bread, developed by South Korea's Nara Space Technology under a program funded by the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute and the Korea Aerospace Administration. 5 hours and 7 minutes after liftoff, this tiny satellite will separate from the adapter and begin its own independent mission in a high elliptical Earth orbit. Its primary task is to measure radiation levels at various altitudes within the Van Allen radiation belts, the hazardous bands of charged particles trapped by Earth's magnetic field. What makes K-RadCube uniquely significant is the hardware inside. Commercial-grade semiconductor chips, the kind found in everyday electronics, being tested in deep space for the very first time. If those chips survive and return useful data, it could reshape how future spacecraft are designed, potentially replacing expensive, radiation-hardened components with affordable commercial alternatives. For South Korea, this small satellite represents an enormous symbolic step, marking the country's first payload ever to ride beyond low Earth orbit on a crewed mission to the moon. A tiny box no heavier than a medium suitcase, carrying ambitions that stretch far beyond its size. After 10 days in the void, the final chapter of Artemis II will be written in fire. Orion will separate from its service module and slam into Earth's atmosphere at approximately 40,000 kilometers per hour, more than 32 times the speed of sound. The heat shield will endure temperatures exceeding 2,800 degrees Celsius, roughly half the surface temperature of the sun, and for several agonizing minutes. The crew will be surrounded by a sheath of superheated plasma that blocks all communication with the ground. Then the drogue chutes deploy, followed by 3 enormous main parachutes, each one wide enough to blanket a football field, slowing the capsule to a gentle splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. When the hatch finally opens, Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen will become the first humans to return from beyond low Earth orbit in more than 53 years. But Artemis II is only the beginning. Artemis III aims to land astronauts on the lunar South Pole. The Gateway Station will establish a permanent outpost in lunar orbit and beyond. That looms the ultimate horizon, Mars. If this story fascinated you, many outstanding creators and channels have explored the Artemis program in extraordinary depth, and their work is well worth seeking out. The age of deep space exploration is no longer a dream deferred. It is unfolding right now above our heads, written in rocket fire and human courage.